Hey guys, we're going to be talking about the Manfrotto 3N1-36 today. We'll get right to it, and if you read the blog post, you'll see why I like this bag so much. One of the core things about it is that you can carry this with you. Although it's not able to be completely inside the pack itself, I just let it hang on this buckle. If this thread fails, it's bright orange. Probably see it. So I'm going to unbuckle this. Put it to the side here. There's two small exterior pockets on the Manfrotto bag here. I usually just leave these for small snacks, protein bars, things of that nature. Quick access stuff, emergency stuff. If you're getting into the water, and you might want to leave some personal articles here that aren't going to be getting wet. If you're at the beach or on a hike and there's a nice little waterfall or creek or stream. We're going to go ahead and open the lower part of the bag up. There's two parts. There's the top compartment here, and then there's a lower compartment here at the bottom. The lower holds the drone itself, and I personally keep the RC up top, and you'll see that once we open it up. Just a note, I do have these zippers color coded because in total there's 4 on this whole bag. There's 2 at the top as well. I have the blue is in the top, the yellow is in the bottom. That's so I can have both. So we're going to open the bag up here, and immediately you're going to see the drone. This is a little pocket. This remains stiff. I used to keep my batteries in here, but they just were clanking too much against the landing gear while I was moving around on hikes and just putting the drone bag inside the car and whatnot. These are the Polar Pro Professional Series filters. I usually leave them in here. They're in a hard case themselves, so I'm not necessarily worried about it. So right out of the gate, you see we have space for 1, 2, 3. I have my meal right here. I usually put it in this pocket. It doesn't matter which, they're both equal in size. And this is going to be the 4th battery, and then I have the 5th here actually in the drone. If I'm going long distances, I usually keep this battery out of the drone, just in case this is pushed by accident, could land on something. You don't want the gimbal to have power and get started up with a lock on it. I do have the Polar Pro, the newest edition for the Phantom 4 Pro. They do have one that looks identical to this that's made just for the Phantom 4, but you'll know that in the product description they're different due to the increased diameter for the larger 20 megapixel camera. I have some props down here in the bottom, just loose props. First I kept them in the left or right compartment here, but they actually started to bend. If the sack falls during transport either way like this, it'll actually put pressure on the plastic. I don't really necessarily like bent props. I don't think anyone really does. Go ahead and close this up. We'll move to the front of the bag. Now the front of the bag is actually the top of the bag. And this is where I keep the RC at all times. I keep the RC up here because I was keeping it in the lower compartment where the batteries were, but it was just moving around too much for me. And I don't want these antenna manipulated during transit, which could ultimately lead in damage. I also have a charger up here. I keep a charger, at least a charger, with me at all times for at least maybe to give one battery a little bit of juice, or if the RC is running low. I usually get about 10 full batteries worth of flight time before this RC battery even drains to 75%. The last thing I have up in here in this compartment is just, I have 2 sets of extra props. You never know what's going to happen. There's been times when I've tried to take off and a nice gust of wind comes by and it just topples the drone over, unfortunately, and you just got to replace them because even a small amount of dirt or debris on the prop is going to make them unbalanced, and therefore flight might be not as perfect as it once was before. This is the area for the tripod. Manfrotto suggests that you use a monopod or a small tripod here. I actually prefer to put it, we have a small monopod that I just slide right into here. Sometimes for long distances, especially if we're going somewhere where there's a water Maybe I can shove a bathing suit, or I'll shove an extra pair of socks in there, something like that, just to carry some extra clothes in case something goes wrong. There's two side compartments here at the top of the bag. I usually keep an extra set of cards. This is a 3D printed micro SD card holder with the full size expandable. And then on the other side, I usually just keep miscellaneous things. I have some business cards in here, and then you never know when you're going to need to do a firmware update on these DJI products, so I carry that with me at all times also. You're able to do these firmware updates now on mobile as long as you have data access to that. There's two side containers for water bottles or what have you on each side. Be careful not to put too large of a container in here though, because this elastic unfortunately is starting to stretch out. I used to use the 1.5 liter Trader Joe bottles here because that would get me through a 2, 3, 4 hour hike without any issues, but they did start to stretch, so I used a little bit smaller containers now, or I just carry them. That's about it for the backpack. This is the side compartment for the laptop, and like I said, this does fit a full size 15-inch in here, and really you might be able to get something even larger in here. This is just an Asus PC, but as you can see, there's plenty of room to store extra things in there, maybe some paperwork, or if you're on a job site and you have to travel a little bit, I usually take the shot list with me. Stuff that you don't want to get crinkled or bent, you can put it in there too, because that's just going to press against your back and not get crushed. Now the best part about this, and that's why I think it is so much, is all the additional padding that Manfrotto has designed within this backpack. And it really is comfortable to wear. This is all cushion. And you know, when these backpacks get heavy, you know, especially with multiple batteries, it starts digging into your back a little bit. So this cushion, if you can see, is about twice the thickness as the upper areas for the lumbar support. Now if you need further support, Manfrotto has also designed this in to have a little bit of a waist support. This way you can just wrap this right around your waist, and it also is going to hug your hips a little bit on the outside. It's going to keep the pack tighter to you if you're going through a little bit rougher terrain, but I usually just keep this packed up because I don't necessarily like all the extra pieces flying around the wind. This is just adding to risk. You could get caught on a tree or something, or a bush or something like that, and this could rip the material or could give you an injury. The material is extremely strong. It is water repellent. And like I said in the blog post, I was actually out in a rainstorm, pretty severe for the Mid-Atlantic. If you're around Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, you know that storms pop up out of nowhere, and sometimes you can get caught in them. I had no issues whatsoever. Water repellent, yes. I wouldn't say that it's actually, it's not waterproof, but for the time that I was outside, the raindrops would just beat off of the material and roll off. Nothing actually penetrated the interior of the backpack, which I was really happy about, because at the time I had a couple batteries, the drone, laptop, etc., etc. So that's going to about do it. Just a couple more side pockets. This is nice because Manfrotto made these side pockets. You can see the landing gear right there. Manfrotto made these side pockets accessible without having to take the whole backpack apart. And you can easily just access a spare battery, or for me, this is where you're going to find my food. And that way I can just get a little meal in while I'm taking a break. And that's about it. So that's why I really like this backpack. Yeah, it's triple the cost of a standard DJI hard shell, and this really isn't a hard shell, but it's hard enough to me to where nothing is really, as much as I push on this, I'm not actually touching the drone whatsoever. The material that they've used inside is pretty strong. It is very thick. So that's going to be about it for this Manfrotto 3N1-36. Follow me on Instagram, Baltimore Aerials, and on Snapchat, want more drones. We're heading out for a nice vacation, and I'm sure to be bringing back a lot of nice drone footage. Thank you.